Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So from the title you probably already know what we're going to be talking about today. I'll be reading parts of my personal statement, the statement that got me admitted into 6 universities here in the US, and I'm also going to be sharing tips as I go. So how did I make meaning of some things, like my thought process as I was writing my personal statement. If you're applying to schools, especially grad school, one thing you cannot really escape from is personal statement. Like, you literally have to write a personal statement, except by some miracle your program does not require that. But every program I applied to required me to submit a personal statement, which I did, and then just thinking back, like, I know how stressful and taxing it can be writing a personal statement, like even just starting and concluding as well. Like, it can be very stressful and really, really hectic. When I was writing mine, I know that I did a lot of editing, like I did a lot of rewriting. I'll go back and be like, oh my goodness, what is this? Am I satisfied with this? Do I need to remove something with this? Like, showcase my skills. Like, I deleted so many paragraphs and I did a lot of overthinking back then. And I know many people are currently going through this, which is why I'll be sharing snippets of my personal statement with you and giving tips as I go, and hopefully this will help you get started or help you review your statement as needed. Before we dive right in, do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and click that subscribe button, that button you're staring at right there. Click on it, click on it, click on it. Just a disclaimer before we get started, there is no one approach to writing a personal statement. What I am sharing is my perspective, how I've written my personal statement, and practical tips and practices that I have utilized that have worked for me and what I've seen work for others as well. That's what I'm sharing today. So yeah. So to start off, one of the first steps I took was to identify the purpose of my essay. Like, what is the purpose of this essay? Why am I writing this essay? What do I need to communicate? What does my program want? Like, are there specific prompts I need to address? Like, every program has different requirements. Some programs have specific prompts that they want applicants to address. When I applied, 4 of my programs had specific prompts that they wanted me to address. Why 2 just wanted a general personal statement with the reason for my interests, my qualifications, and plans after graduation. And looking back, asking myself those questions served as the baseline for structuring my essay, establishing my purpose, and knowing which of my strengths to play to. Like, for example, if you're applying for a scholarship now, you need to ask yourself, like, okay, am I applying for a merit-based scholarship or a need-based scholarship, right? And if it's a merit-based scholarship, you know that you play to your academic achievement. And if it's a need-based scholarship, you know that you have to bring in some of like your personal identities into play, and maybe even play to PT as well as a result of your experiences. So really asking yourself certain questions and also identifying the requirements of the program you want to apply to would really help in establishing a structure or a baseline for starting that essay, right? If you don't know where to start from, just like use those questions as a baseline and it will give you some guidance. So after identifying the purpose and establishing the structure of my statement, I decided to start my statement with a narrative. So I decided to start my essay with a personal narrative of my experiences, which I'll read out shortly and explain why I started that way. In the first semester of my undergraduate here, I resumed quite late. This was due to personal reasons I'm not going to share in this video, but I wrote that in my statement. I struggled with registering for courses, catching up with classes, securing off-campus housing, and finding my way around campus. Skip. I was confused and lost most of the time. There was basically no resource to aid and assist me, save for 3 helpful classmates who decided to render a helping hand. And I'm actually going to give a shout out to one of those 3 people who I know watches my video and comments. Her name is Lavide. Shout out to you, Lavide. Thanks for helping me back then. So back to my statement, right? And the reason I started with this narrative was because it was the motivation for my interest in studying higher education and student affairs, and it also kind of explained why I had low grades in my first semester of undergrad and how I steadily improved till I graduated. So for me, with that starting point, it was like achieving 2 things with one. At first, I was kind of reluctant to start with such a narrative, and I was like, wait, are you really highlighting some of your shortcomings? However, I read a statement somewhere, I can't remember, that made me feel more confident, right? And I was like, you know what, I'm going to put this right here. It's fine to address some of my shortcomings. It's fine to address why I had low grades when I first started in college, right? So after writing that part, I expatiated on that initial narrative of my motivation by highlighting some Nigerian higher education issues to really depict my passion in my field of interest and showcase that I am knowledgeable in certain areas. So I'll start reading from the second part of my next paragraph. So I said that the potential of higher education in my country, Nigeria, seems to be thwarted by long-standing problems of finance, efficiency, equity, and quality, all which emanate from poor administration and management. Skip. The public higher institutions are characterized with water shortage, poor sanitary conditions, and overcrowded residence halls. As one who has gone through the system and experienced it, I desire a change in this system. Hence the reason for my interest in the Masters of Arts degree in Higher Education Administration at Central Michigan University. And that was how I kind of did my whole intro, just to kind of highlight. So I talked about some personal experiences, how I struggled at first. In my first semester, there was like lack of resources as well to help me, except for like human resources, which, I acknowledge like the 3 people that really helped me transition into college. And then I went on to talk about how I overcame those issues. Then I highlighted those specific issues. So I used my personal narrative to introduce those issues. That was my approach to it, okay? So next, I talked about my academic and professional goals, and I kind of tied it back with the issues that I hope to address. So I broke down those goals into like short and long term, and this aspect is actually quite long, so I'm just going to summarize it. I started the paragraph, I was straight to the point. I was like, my short term goal is to learn blah blah blah, and then I went to like my long term goal, and then I said in the long term I aim to do so. So overall, when writing your goals, it helps to be concise yet illustrative, right? Like, do not beat around the bush when you're writing your goals, and try to be clear on what your goals are. That's if you know what they are, right? And one thing I would say is that it's actually fine if you're not 100% certain on what those goals are. That's why you're going to grad school. I mean, that's what I think personally. Like, we don't have to have 100% clear and definite goals all the time, right? Whatever you have, like, why are you really going to grad school? Like, just try to articulate that in some meaningful way. And for me, like, this program, they specifically really wanted us to address our goals, so I had to break it down into like short-term, long-term goals, and then I had like some research goals as well, specific to my program, like what I really wanted to do. So after writing those goals, I shared how the program I'm applying to would help me achieve those goals. So this part for me also highlighted why I chose that particular program, right? So for instance, I wrote that the Higher Education Administration program at Central Michigan University will play a vital role in helping me achieve my goals by equipping me with both theoretical and practical knowledge to function effectively as a student affairs practitioner through the coursework and practical experiences. So after stating that, I also went on to specify some coursework that I am specifically looking forward to and some things I'm hoping to learn from the program to show that I did my research on them, and let them also know that this is why I'm choosing this specific program, because of this coursework that you have, because of the practical experiences that you offered. That was just the part I read to you was just the introductory part. I later went on, I broke it down, and I highlighted specific courses that would really help me. An example is where I said I envision learning the impact the college environment has on student learning and development, as well as the psychosocial and cognitive structural theories of student and adult development. So that was like a part that I kind of brought into it, kind of expatiate on all their coursework. So I went to the programs page, I looked at the curriculum, looked at the courses they offer, looked at their professors as well. So I kind of highlighted, I'm like, do I want to talk about a professor? Do I want to talk about coursework? And then I was like, you know what, I'm actually going to focus on the coursework and the practical experiences that they offered, because my program was really focused on practical experiences as opposed to like research. And I also made sure to tie this part back to some issues I highlighted earlier to show that I really wanted to address those issues. One tip I'll give is that if you're trying to be clear on why the program or why the university, pick specific features of the program to focus on. If you are really interested in research and you want to work with a particular lecturer, highlight it, okay? Highlight those parts. Whatever feature or characteristics of that program or the university that appeals to you, feel free to use that as a leverage, include it in your personal statement. Like, there is no one approach to how you can include it in your personal statement. So next up, I shared my academic and non-academic experiences. So like my volunteer work, like where I volunteered, some experiences I had outside of classes. Although I had like experiences here and there, I just made sure to focus on the ones that I felt were relevant to like the program, or the ones that would show my preparedness for the program. Like, yes, this person is ready for grad school, or this person already has some relevant experience in some ways or some form, that would really help them succeed in grad school, and even possibly show how I stand out from other candidates. So right here I have, in my second year of undergraduate studies, I was elected as the Public Relations Officer of the English Education Student Association. My duties included disseminating vital information, building ties with alumni and students, and guiding new students in the department on how to navigate their way around. Also, I was actively involved in the orientation of new students, both freshmen and transfer students, in the department, and in organizing the departmental alumni reunion alongside other executive members. This part is quite long, so I'll stop here, but I also shared one other volunteering experience with Enactus Nigeria and my National Youth Service experience. So I split my work, like where I taught, and my community development group into two separate experiences to make my statement kind of fuller. But like, that's how I approach sharing my experiences. I kind of explained what I did, so I just didn't say, oh, I worked in this particular place. No, I expatiated on each of those experiences and made sure I highlighted like the specific things that I did that connected to what I'm interested in. So my course focuses a lot on working with students, helping student transition. And if you see this part, it kind of connects back to my experience at first in terms of like my transition. So for me, it was really important for me to highlight that in some forms or in some ways I have worked with students, even though I was a student myself while working with students. So one tip I would give is that don't just state the experience. So for example, don't just say, oh, I worked in so and so place, right? No, connect those experiences. Like, make sure to illustrate how those experiences have prepared you for that program and what makes you a right candidate with those experiences. Overall, make sure that your experience is cohesive with the rest of the statement, and in some ways it's relevant to the context of your statement. Like, you don't want to have like an experience that is literally just totally far off from like the context of your statements. Like, don't just write anything or put anything down. Be intentional with the experiences that you choose to present. So now we are at the concluding part of the essay. So the concluding part of the essay makes a lasting impression. So you don't just want to breeze through it. I think I'm stressed for writing conclusion. Let me tell you, I've written a lot of papers in school, and one of the most stressful parts for me is also concluding, right? But when I was writing my conclusion, I reiterated some key highlights of my essays in different words, and I highlighted some specific skills I didn't mention early on. And then I ended with, I hope that I would be given the opportunity to learn and apply the dimensions of my experiences in the higher education program at Central Michigan University. Reading this last part now, I still don't even fully know what that meant. I just know that I wrote something down, right? However, it made sense back then, and now I'm reading it out, and now I'm like, what did you mean by this last part? But that was what I did with my concluding part. I reiterated some key highlights of my essay in different words, so I didn't repeat the same word. I found a way to kind of pamper it, like spice it up, and then I highlighted some specific skills I did not mention, and then really showed them that I'm interested in their program with the last part of my statement. So yep, that is my essay. That is what it is. Feel free to ask me any questions you may have. And so I'm just going to give some final tips and things that I know that really helped me, and just some things to just be on the lookout for as you write your essay. So I'm going to be taking a look at my screen because I had a note back then, and honestly I think this is really helpful right now, like some reminders that I had for myself. And I'm glad that I didn't delete any of my documents because that's what I'm using for this video now. So I have here that read the instructions carefully. This is really important if you're applying to multiple schools, right? Schools have different requirements, like requirements vary from school to school. So don't just assume that you can write one personal statement and submit the exact document several times. I personally, for 4 schools, of course, the statement was very, very similar. I changed names, and I changed some wordings. I changed like some parts in terms of courses. Like, remember where in my statement I said I mentioned like specific courses, and I kind of showed why that specific program. I changed it from school to school because every program has a different approach. One program was really academically focused, and I really had to highlight that. And while another one was like practical focus, they really wanted students to learn while going to school. So, and I really highlighted that when I was writing my statement. So it's not like you're going to change your entire statement. You just have to probably like change parts of the statement, but you really want to read the instructions to each school you're applying to carefully if you're applying to multiple schools. Another point is to take time to reflect. Before you sit down to write your draft, if there's no prompt, and even if there are prompts, like, you can try answering some of the following questions. When did I become interested in this field or in this topic, and why? What motivated me to apply to this program specifically? What challenges or setback did I overcome to get where I am today? Are there unique or noteworthy aspects of my life story that influenced my decision to earn a graduate degree? What have I learned through work experience that will help me thrive in graduate school? How can I set myself apart from other applicants? And what are my career goals, and how will this degree help me achieve them? What traits or characteristics do I have that will help me thrive in this field? And what am I most excited to learn and do in this program if I am accepted? So those are some questions you can ask to guide your personal statement, especially if you don't have any prompts or if you're unsure of like where to start. Another tip I'm going to give is that do not exaggerate or invent something you think the committee would want to hear. Don't do that, okay? Reflect, take a deep breath. Like if it's necessary, take a break. And if you hit a roadblock, that's absolutely fine. Like, take a deep breath. Take some time away to do what you want to do. Just ensure that you plan ahead and you don't over procrastinate, so that you're not rushing that statement last minute. Which brings me to another point. Proofread, okay? Proofread your statement. Ensure that there are no grammatical errors or typographical errors. Make sure that the template you are using aligns with the requirements of your program. So programs don't have requirements. Some have requirements of templates. Some will tell you like double space, Times New Roman, 12 fonts. Some will tell you single space. Like 5 of my programs had 5 different requirements, and if I had not paid attention, I would just submit like similar templates for all of them. Some were double space, some were single space, some said no more than 3 pages, some said no more than 2 pages. So you want to make sure that you're taking note of those formatting requirements. If they say double space, no more than 2 pages long, 11 fonts, like make sure to stick to that. Like that's why you need to read. Proofread. Send to somebody with the prompt if there's a prompt from your program, and ask them like, oh, can you please take a look at this? I really appreciate it. I sent my statement to 2 people to help me review it, and they helped me out. And one thing I would say is that like everybody you send your statement to, if you do send your statement out, would have different feedback for you. Like some people will like some parts of your essay, some will not like that specific part. So it's really up to you to kind of reflect and think through those feedback that you get, right? And analyze it to see if you want to integrate it or not, right? You don't just need to take like feedback without reflecting on it, because everybody has a different approach to things, and in the long run it's your personal statement. It's totally up to you. So yeah, make sure to review and proofread your essays really well. And last but not the least is do not doubt yourself, okay? Utilize the resources at your disposal. Go online, search for templates. Do not doubt yourself. The personal statement is called a personal statement for some reason. I mean, some people call it statement of purpose. Personal statement is the same thing. It's called a personal statement for some reason. It's unique to you. It's personal, okay? So do not doubt yourself. Trust in your experiences and find a way to present it in a compelling manner. But ultimately, it's your experience. It's about you. Do not doubt yourself, and you've got this. And with that, we've come to the end of this video. I hope you find this helpful for those who are trying to figure out how to write a personal statement, or those who are trying to figure out like, okay, I've started writing but I don't even know what next. So hopefully this helps you. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Like click that subscribe button, okay? Yeah, and good luck. Bye.